So I'll do this by creating a color balance adjustment layer. This is the easiest way to add color. So let's create a clipping mask and let's start with the shadows. We'll add some cyan and some blue. Not so much because I want it to be less contrasty, low contrast. And that's it for this guy. Yeah, I guess this is the main color that we want in our visual. Now let's work on the moon because I don't like it actually. So let's start with adding some highlights for the moon, like so. Maybe we can get rid of this group. I will ungroup this layer and I will just copy the effects that I've already made. Right click in the effects and copy layer style, and then I will delete it or clear the effects. And next I will create smart object from this layer, and then I will repaste the layer style. By this I can apply a mask and maintain the effect also, because I want to go back and forth, erase some parts and get them back again until I'm satisfied. And this will not be possible if I'm working on the original mask. So I'm now trying to erase some parts, and at the same time I have some effects like the outer glow, the inner glow, all these. Now I've duplicated the layer, and let's go to filter, blur and Gaussian blur. By doing this I'm just creating a glow, and then I will go to the, let's get rid of these styles. I'll clear layer style of the blurred layer, and then let's go to the blending options and let's choose screen. This is only for creating this glow effect. As you can see, here is before and here is after. Very good. Now let's erase parts until I'm totally satisfied. Very cool. Now it's time to go to the mountains to correct the color. I'll add the color balance adjustment layer, and let's add some blues in the midtones. Never forget to create a clipping mask. Oh, I'm working on the wrong layer, so let's just correct the colors, add cyans and blue, and that's it. Here's before and here is after. Duplicate this color balance and put it here. Now the colors are corrected, and as you can see, before, after, before, after. Very good. Now let's work on the mid-ground section. So I will start with this layer, create color balance adjustment layer, and let's start with the shadows. I'll add some blues into the shadows, some cyans. Here's the effect, as you can see. But I don't want to add a lot of color because I want it to be a desaturated one. Let's go to this great China wall, and we will use the color balance adjustment layer. The midtones, we'll add some blues. Never forget to create a clipping mask. Add some cyans. Maybe this is a little bit tricky. Try to unify everything. Let's work on the shadows, add cyans, and add blues. Maybe some magenta. No, I guess this is good, but it's too saturated. Needs some work maybe in the highlights. I don't like it actually. So let's try to do it again. So let's add some tiny amount of cyans in the midtones. I will not cut this part because I wanted to show you that it's normal to not get it from the first time. You can try correcting the colors, and sometimes it can be tricky. So it's okay, take your time and notice the differences in the colors and add some colors little by little. You will correct and blend the image. Let's work on the shadows, add some blues, like so, and maybe some greens. I guess this is better. Now let's go to the highlights, maybe add some sands, no, and some blues, tiny bit of blue. Very good. This is working better, but I guess we need to fade this part properly. This is not faded properly. This is good. This part also, we need to erase this part and fade it properly. Okay, maybe we can correct the curves, open the shadows a little bit. Yeah, I guess so. That is way better. Now this part needs to be edited. I don't like this part, so let's erase it like so to fade it better. Very good. Okay, let's start working onto the building. I will start with the ground or the rocky surface, and using the color balance, adding some blues in the midtones and some cyan, and maybe some greens also. The shadows, tiny bit of blue, tiny bit of cyans, not so much, and some magenta, I guess. And in the highlights, we'll add some yellows, I guess, and some cyans. Feel free to try everything you can until you blend all the images together. And remember that the source image you are correcting its color is not the same in the whole scene. So for example, this picture was not the same as this picture. I mean, the source image were not the same colors. So now we are trying to get them to the 0 point. Never forget about that. So now I'm trying to correct colors of the building, add some cyan, maybe some magenta in the midtones, and the shadows, add some blues and some cyans, maybe some greens, I guess, maybe. Very good. And in the highlights, some blues, I guess, a little bit, not so much cyan. Let's keep this to -5, and we're good to go. I guess this is not bad. I'm not totally satisfied with this part. I guess it needs to be edited, needs some shadows. So let's create a curves adjustment layer here, and let's darken this part like this. And now let's draw some shadows in this part. Let's fade it a little bit like this. Very good. And now let's press into the mask and press Ctrl I to invert the mask. And using the hard edges or the soft rounded brush, I will draw some shadows right here, and we'll select the hard edges brush and create a hard shadow, because our source of light is the moon, and it will cast a hard shadow because it's a small surface and it's very far away from the earth. So this is how it should look like. Very good. And you can notice the shadows of the moon in the movies. It's very sharp. Very good. That's better, I guess. Maybe we can fade these parts a little bit. And now we're good to go. Let's go to building number 2, and let's add color balance, some cyans in the midtones. Let's go to the shadows, add some blues and some cyans, maybe some greens, I guess. And in the highlights, maybe add cyans and some magenta and some blue. Very good. We'll do the same thing into the rocky surface using the color balance. Create a clipping mask, maybe some magenta, and add some blues. This is very good. Let's go to the shadows, add some blues and some cyans, and we're good to go. Now let's go to building number 1, our hero. Let's go to building number 1 and let's create color balance, adding some blues. Never forget to create a clipping mask. And adding some cyans. In the shadows, I'll do the same thing, blue and cyan, until I'm satisfied with the result. Maybe some greens, I guess +2 is good. And in the highlights, maybe adding some yellows and adding some cyans. Maybe you can add some blues. Very good. Go to the rocky surface. Of course, you have already guessed. Using color balance, I guess. I guess we can use the same one as we have already used into the building. Let's go to the bridge. Let's copy this color balance and put it right straight into it. I will not edit this color balance part. Maybe we can increase or decrease the blues a little bit, and let's go to the shadows. Just increase the blues and the shadows, and guess we're good to go. Now it's time to work onto the foreground parts. You can see how when we are organized, everything is easier, but you can imagine if we are not organizing everything into groups, it would be a total mess. You would never find the layers that you wanted. So let's start with this rocky surface, adding cyans and blues into the midtones, the same thing into the shadows. I will make these edits quickly. Let's not play with the greens. Let's go to the highlights, add some blues and some cyans. Very good. I guess we can duplicate this part because it's the same source layer. Yeah, as you can see here, that's very good. Let's just tweak some things, decrease the blues a little bit, and that's good. Let's duplicate it and put it here to this surface, and we can also put it into the man's group, and let's put it into the rocky surface here and the other rocks here. I guess we need to get back to the man image and edit it a little bit, but now let's edit this part of the rocks, add some blues, and maybe this part also needs to be adjusted. I guess we need to make it a little bit brighter because the shadows are very dark in the rocks, the foreground parts. Let's get back to this part, open up the shadows a little bit, and that's what I was talking about. You will always get back to some elements and re-edit the values, the saturation, etc. So it's totally normal. I'll just edit the lightness of this part, the rocky surface here, and it's time to correct the colors of the man. So let's create a color balance adjustment layer, and let's add cyan. Never forget to create a clipping mask, and add some blues. This will be in the midtones, maybe some greens, and in the shadows add blues, cyans, some greens, and in the highlights also we'll add the same thing. Now, as you can see, now everything is kinda corrected. You can look at the image and notice that everything is not looking horrible. It's not bad. The colors are matching, the saturations are good, the values are not bad. You can feel the depths into the design, but we need to color everything again because we lost a lot of colors here.